G'day guys, Matt Kelly here. In this video, we're gonna go over the boat that we bought in the auctions just over 12 months ago. We got it for dirt cheap. It's been a really interesting boat to own. I've already done a bunch of little mods to it, so we're gonna run through it all in a full 2-hour video where we go over every single feature and what I carry and what I keep and how it all works. Let's get into it. As a starting point, I wanted to mention the covers. So these obviously don't come stock with the full covers all the way down the back. For me, this is cool because I keep it out here in the weather, basically on the water, on a dry dock. If I didn't have these, they get weathered really quickly. All the fabric starts to tear and get discolored, so that's really useful for me. Generally speaking, all I will do when I'm going out is I'll leave all the clears and these all unzip and get all bound up along the side here and along the top, which gets them right out of the way. This particular cover here is quite cool because it's actually got a fly screen section in the middle. So if you're out camping, you can leave the fly screen there and unzip this inside panel and that rolls up separately, which is kind of nice for overnight trips where you still need the airflow because it does get very steamy in here with everything down. One of the reasons I wanted this boat was because in the half cabin, you obviously have a bed in the front, full cabin, great if you're operating in heavy swells, waves coming over the front. I don't do that, I'm a fair weather fisherman at best. What that means for me is that space is crucial. Having a bed underneath wasn't great. I love the idea of having a casting deck, or you rip this up, you can remove that, grab those cushions, and you've got just bulk seating at the front. It makes it a really comfortable space when you've got a few people out with you, which is kind of a nice thing to have because, like I say, the bed is great if you're solo camping, but in a boat this size, I don't need a half cabin, and I definitely don't need a half cabin that only one person can effectively go in. So this was a better option for me. If I was fishing in heavy conditions, if I was crossing bars regularly, I wouldn't want this. You bury the front, you sink the boat, that's not fun. But for what I'm doing, this is perfect. In here, life jackets in here. I've got 4 of the standard cheapo, just yellow ones. Then I've got a couple of other PFDs that are designed for you know, if I've got someone on a surfboard behind the boat or something, so they're handy. In this side, this is where I keep basically just fishing and other supplies to stay comfortable. So this is stuff that I don't use often, but it's kind of nice to have. A couple sets of pliers, filleting knife, bulk, different leader, some plastics and stuff there. It's just the stuff that I don't use every day, but if I want it, I'd rather have it here than know that it's at home in the garage. The other thing that I've got down here is a few things just to keep things comfortable. So anyone who's been out in a boat for a long time knows that all these things are useful. Sunscreen, you want that. Insect repellent, you want that. I keep garbage bags. I actually keep garbage bags in a couple of places in this boat. I'll explain why soon. Wipes, I like having wipes. I feel like in part, even just getting bait on the deck and whatever, if you're going out overnight, it's nice to use those to clean it up. The other option here is toilet paper. If you know what that is, then great. If you don't know why you did that in the boat, then you don't have spent enough time in a boat. So, in this side, this is what I call sort of safety gear and tools. So, over here, this is an emergency grab bag. In the grab bag, I like to keep anything that is safety related. It's got bulk different rope in it. In an event where I've got to tow someone, that's great. I've got more rope, I've got bags, I've got torches, I've got which work, that's good. So that's one grab bag. I've got bailer. If you had to use this, you'd be screwed in this boat because basically a sealed floor except for a tiny section at the back. You don't want to have to use it, but I also would rather have it than be in a situation where I was like, damn, I need something to bail out some water. Again, bulk more rope. I don't know why I have this much rope. That bag is basically full of ropes and I've got that. Part of me feels like if I ended up in a situation where the boat crashed and I was off an island on my own, rope would be useful. So that's why I've got it. Never happened, won't happen, but here we are. Fresh drinking water. This is literally clean water. I refill it every couple of months. It's in a container designed suitable for drinking water. I also have a separate freshwater tank under the floor, which you'll see in a minute. However, this is just something that's nice to have. I don't know why you wouldn't carry that. And I've got 2 of these little plastic ammo boxes. And this one here is tools, and it's pretty limited tools. A little socket set, pliers, zip ties, tape, a couple of shifting spanners, some self-fusing tape as well. I've also got a special socket there for getting spark plugs out. I also keep a spare set of plugs just because, again, why wouldn't you? And in here I've got spares and servicing parts, which is exactly what I just talked about. Spare plugs, filter, I've got a fuse set there. I've got a spare pull cord. I've got spare bungs. that's another thing. Always keep spare bungs. I feel like the number of times you hear someone's gone all the way to the boat ramp in their boat and then gone to put it in, and they've either put it in without a bung in it, or worse, they've arrived, realised they don't have the bung and ruined their whole day. That sucks. So keeping those is important. I've got 2 of those in there. So that's what stays in there. Basically, I know that at any time, if I've got all this stuff, I'm good to basically leave at any given moment and we're pretty safe. But there's more inside. So let's go check that out. All right, so now we're gonna move into the boat. When I'm going out, these come off in every case. So you wanna get good airflow through the boat. What I will always do, almost always, unless there's someone in the passenger seat that doesn't like it, is that these will both get opened. They get wound up, and turns out it's actually a lot easier to do this from the inside. I've never done it from here. This is really hard. All right, door here, that opens. So, you can imagine if the floor was in this insert, under there becomes really good storage. So where my feet are right now, there's actually a really good space for bags and stuff. It pretty much stays dry because it's got this giant piece of ply and stuff over the top of it. But that is what it is. In here, fire extinguisher, you want that. I always check the gauge, make sure it's in the healthy range, and it is, so that's good. And then on this side, I've got, where all the plastic caps have fallen off, I've got EPIRB. This is a near new EPIRB. It's about 12 months old. I put it in the boat when I got the boat, and a small first aid kit. The intention is not that I ever need to use this, but I even include things in there like Panadol and Nurofen and just stuff, because you kind of want to have that. Last thing you want to do is be out in a boat, someone's feeling unwell, and you got nothing for them. So that is what it is. Over here, I mentioned garbage bags. Garbage bags are the single most useful thing I think I have ever had in a boat, because we all know what it's like. You are out on a trip, especially with kids. I've got 2 young kids, both under the age of 6. You do not want to be in a situation where you've got little kids just throwing rubbish all over the boat. It just becomes a mess, and for me, I don't know, that gives me anxiety. It's not good for my OCD. So I basically, at the start of every trip, because I've gotten coffees on the way or something, I'll have one of these out, stuff already in it, pinned up under here, ready to go. It means that everything stays clean, and clean up at the end of the day is much simpler. Again, it might sound silly, and a lot of people are just like, mate, it's a boat, it's fishing, you're gonna get dirty, who cares? I think it's good. I keep a second set of wipes there for the same reason. Those are glass cleaning wipes. I just use them in case I get a bulk spray early in the day. I like to get it off just to help with vision. Last thing you want to do through the clears, which are never that clear, last thing you want is to get too close to someone because you just didn't notice them because there's dried salt everywhere. All right, this is cool. This is called the beer bung, okay? This thing I really like because it slots into a rod holder, sits flush, double drink holder. If that's not useful in a boat, I don't know what is. The other thing I've got here is a couple of Railblazer rod holders, just super adjustable ones. I like these for trolling, so I will have these mounted either side of the boat, side out. I can get 2 rods straight out. For us here, fishing the reefs around like Ormiston and Wellington Point, it's not uncommon to get decent tailor, trolling a slug at a pretty slow speed, you know, like 8 knots. Those things are really, really useful for that, actually perfect for that. All right, so before we get into some of the other cool features, let's talk about electronics, because for me, this was a really important thing in this boat. The boat came with 2 lead acid batteries, one there, one under there. They both run to a battery switch, which is right there. I can run it off 1, 2, or both. That obviously runs up to the helm. That powers the starter for the outboard. The outboard has an alternator, which then charges the batteries, and so on. That's all good and well. My issue with this boat is that I run Lowrance sounder, I've got nav lights, I've got floodlights, I've got underwater lights, I've got deck wash. I've got a bunch of accessories that I like to use all the time, irrespective of whether I'm out fishing for the day or trolling or whatever. There's always something running in this boat. It's got a 6 stereo. I'm very mindful of how that drains battery if you're anchored for a day. So I've spent quite a lot of time looking at what are the solutions I can have for power to make the boat just take the risk out of running them too low and getting in trouble. I've done 2 things. One, solar panel for lead acid batteries. So I've got a 200-watt solar panel that can go on the roof and I can charge the batteries. It's just there for emergencies. But then another thing I've been looking at, and something that is much better for portable speakers and my phone and all that stuff, is actually a separate portable solar-powered station. So through doing a bunch of research, I ended up reaching out to the legends at EcoFlow. EcoFlow make the River. Now here's the cool thing about the River. The River is a effectively a battery, bulk ports. It stores actually a huge amount of power for the physical size of it. The legends at EcoFlow sent me out this to test it and have a play with it, and already I'm really enjoying it. This thing has 288 watt hours of capacity, which means that you can charge a smartphone 21 times on a single charge. It's also got fast charge, it's got USB ports, it's got USB-C, it's got literally like your cigarette out, which is pretty cool. That's your DC. And then on the side here, this is where things get even more useful. It's got two 600 watt AC outlets. Now, if you download the EcoFlow app, you can use what they call X Boost technology, and that gives you up to 1800 watts of power out of one of these. You wouldn't want to run it on that for a huge amount of time because obviously it's going to drain your capacity, but what it means is people use these to run power tools, to when they're camping, when they're four-wheel driving, as a separate source of power. Why it is important for me, of course I'm going to run my GoPro batteries, my drone batteries, my phone, my speakers, all that stuff. I will charge off this, absolutely. But what I love about this is that they also have got a 110 watt solar panel. And the other thing that I find kind of cool about this is that you can plug this into your home power, your car power, or to that solar panel, and you can charge it relatively quickly. You're talking about under 2.5 hours on your car charger, but on your home AC power, you can go from 0 to 80% in under an hour, and that means from 0 to 100% in under an hour and a half. If the sun's pumping, it's a really useful way to charge it, and that's what I actually really like about it. So of course, you're gonna run on my other devices, but the thing I think I'm gonna use this most for is redundancy. So if you think about it here, 2 lead acid batteries, solar panel for lead acid batteries, that's great, isolate those, separate system. If something goes wrong, I'm okay. This thing, using the AC outlet, I can plug a 12 volt battery charger, which I have, into this, attach it to one of those batteries, use the solar to keep this topped up. I can get enough charge of those batteries that I can get them going again if I run them too low. And for me, that is what makes this a powerful device to have. It takes all the risk out of going camping for any long period of time. It takes the stress out of running the sounder for a long time if you're anchored and not running and running off the batteries. I just really like having a bit of risk mitigation. So like I say, EcoFlow sent this to me, very kind of them, and I appreciate it. I'm excited to continue to test it and play with it, but for me, it's already been a cool device to play with, and I think it's going to be more and more useful in this boat as we progress. If you want to learn more about the EcoFlow River or the solar panel that I've got, there's a link in my description below. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to EcoFlow, hit them up with what your needs are, and they've got a bunch of different products, so I'm sure they'll be very helpful and hook you up. But like I say, thanks to EcoFlow for sponsoring and supporting this video, and let's keep at it. All right, so as we move on, over here, fishing supplies. So for fishing supplies in a boat like this, I want to have enough stuff at any given time that I can go and have a good session without being like, oh, god damn, I need that lure, or I need those plastics, or I need that, whatever. So I keep 2 things in the boat. Big fishing, and big fishing for me is probably different to you because I'm not crazy. Like I say, I'm a fair weather fisherman at best. But for me, big fishing is bulk lures, mostly for trolling, bulk slugs for flicking. If you see birds, they get flicked. I've just broken that. That's freaking sweet. All right, so that's fine. And then over here, I've got a little stabby knife. I've got some assist hooks there. I've got bulk different lures. It's a nice little Nomad. That's a pretty nice one, actually. That's cool. But bulk lures in here for just big stuff. Again, I don't want to be in a situation where I need them. The other thing I've got in here is my paravane kit. So what I keep this for is paraveining. So these get trolled out behind the boat, dive the lure down to a certain depth. I have found in my experience, you chuck a barra slug down behind a boat like this, in the right area in the bay with a paravane, it's pretty easy to hook up on school mackerel. So for me, that's a fun way of fishing, and it's a pretty relaxed way of fishing as well. You get on the troll and go find new ground. It's a fun way to fish. For me, I learn more about the bay doing that, so that's pretty cool. The other thing that I keep in this boat is this. Now this is more bay fishing, so various hooks, a few trebles for lures, a few jig heads for plastics, and then just bulk other hooks, a few circle hooks there as well for liveys and sharks. Here, squid jigs and really small lures, a few poppers, a few divers, some slugs, just again, little bit of variety to keep it going. This is a good hack, by the way. Little absorby thing. I got these online, got a packet of about, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them for 10 bucks. And I chucked them in all of these, and they work very well at absorbing moisture, which means things don't rust. The other thing that I do to prevent things from rusting is this is a hack that I got from my mate Sammy Hitsky. This looks like a water bottle. This has got a small amount of salt away in it, and then the rest of the water. Every time something comes out of the water, a hook or a lure or something gets dipped in this, shaken around a bit, take it out, dry it out, go back in there, no rust, which is sick. So I recommend that, and for me, having those little absorbers also has helped. Some more lures, some bigger poppers, some divers, some slugs, that's cool. And then down here, sinkers and wire tracers. That's mostly for if you're bottom bashing, and for me, often there's a, chuck a big bit of mullet down there and try and hook up on a reef shark. It's not glamorous fishing, no one will be impressed by it, but I enjoy it. I've also mounted to the side here, just a little setup here, stainless set of pliers, braid, scissors, a couple of knives, lip grip. And then we move to the back of the boat. I've got two things at the back of the boat here that I want to show you guys. One is the deck wash system. So these are two things that are really useful for fishing. Firstly, with the deck wash, this is pretty cool. I've got a pump under there. It runs two ways. One way runs out of the transom so I can pull salt water straight out of the ocean. The other is a hose that runs along there, down there, under the floor here, directly into a 60-litre freshwater tank. Now, the cool thing about that is I've got a literal freshwater shower. On a boat that is under 5 meters long, for me, having that pulling fresh water is so good. You jump out, go for a swim, smash that over your face, your hair. You don't feel like you've been in the water, in the surf. It just freshens you up real nice. It means you can keep going fishing for a lot longer, which is good. I know a lot of people like to use deck wash for salt water, one for cleaning fish, right? You don't want to taint fish with fresh water. That's cool, that makes sense. The other is, obviously 6 litres of fresh water disappears pretty quickly if you're out for multiple days. So you can always literally flick the valve under there and flick to salt water, and as long as the boat's in the water, it'll pull salt water all day long. So that's, again, really cool, adjustable, like, cool, very cool feature. The other thing I want to show you guys at the back here is the live well. I don't know why more people don't have live wells in small boats. Often you'll see people that'll get an esky and they'll convert the esky into a live well. For me, it's just one of those features that being able to chuck anything in there and just keep the water circulating is cool. So I actually can't run it right now because the boat is not in the water, it's sitting on the dry dock. However, it's got a pump here, it pulls water from a hose that runs down through the transom. There's a skin fitting on the transom, and it's got a vent on the side, a plug in the bottom. What that means is you can just keep running that, it will keep cycling new water in. As it gets too full, it siphons out of this little drain right here. Again, really cool, very simple, but it works beautifully well, and when you need it, it's really cool to have it to keep liveys alive and all that stuff. All right, and then as we wrap up this video, like I said, floodlights on the top, which you can't see, but they're up there. Underwater, I've got two big blue lights. I don't use them for anything except for it looks really cool at night to have the blue lights on. It's kind of fun. I do look forward to getting into sort of big fish season for us out here when the weather calms down a bit and you get to the slightly cooler months, and you can go out on some big trolling sessions at night, blasting light out behind you, having that out, music on, a few beers and just cruising around the bay would be really fun. The other thing that I've got down here is the engine. This is a 70 horsepower Yamaha 4-stroke. It has run like a clock. It has not stopped. It has been an amazing engine. I've only put a couple of 100 hours on it in the last year, but in that time, it's run seamlessly. Starts first time, never stops, never dies. Is super quiet. I've come from 2-strokes before this, and this is the quietest thing I've ever run. And I'm talking about running, really small engines are still much louder than that. So it's pretty cool. The only other thing as far as electronics go is I'm running a Lowrance Elite TI2 sounder. It's one that I bought for my last boat. I put it straight in this boat. For me, it's good enough. It's got side scan, you get some good structure out of that, but I look at it for really depth. That's all I'm super focused on, depth, and if I can see a bit of structure, then that's something to play around with. But apart from that, that's the boat. If you've got any ideas on modifications, on improvements, on anything that I should be doing to make this a better, more usable, more livable boat to hang out on, I would love to hear them in the comments. I suspect the biggest criticism from you guys, and certainly my biggest criticism of this boat for me, is fishing with this can be really annoying. So when you think about it, you're fighting anything big and you've got to run around the boat, it's a nightmare. So what I've found the few times I've gone fishing where I know I'm going to throw slugs and fighting something of decent size, I actually take the plastics off so that I can at least go around, I'll walk the inside of the boat, but I can at least pass a rod around the bar, which means I can do full laps. When these plastics are on, you can't do that, which does make it a bit of a nightmare of a boat in that respect for serious fishermen. So if you're a serious fisherman, you're not going to have all this. You're going to pull all this off and you're going to have it as open as possible. But for me, with a family, having that cover just goes a long way. It gives me longevity out in the water. So that's the boat. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me feedback. thanks to EcoFlow again for the river and for sponsoring the video. And I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.